You know, sir, I like you much better with my glasses off.
You put your glasses back on and face the facts.
Here's one a few of you might have heard of. 11 years after the smash hit Christmas special, here comes a new story starring the Grinch. This one obviously focusing on the Halloween season. Granted, Halloween isn't mentioned beyond the title, and some re-releases even outright axe the term, but thematics and such. One thing I'll compliment Grinch Night for right off the bat is that, although they obviously didn't have anywhere near the same budget as they did under Chuck Jones, it's hard to deny that the artists put in their damnedest with the atmosphere. Much of the special carries such an ominous dread, with the sour sweet sounds taking up much of the background noise.
And in the home of Josiah and his good wife Mariah, they just stood there, and no one could speak.
The menacing soundtrack courtesy of Sesame Street legend Joe Raposo. And all those deep reds and blues dominating the backgrounds. It's very different from what you'd usually expect with these, but it's still appealing and befitting of the story. This goes especially for that big climactic scene near the end where the main character Euchariah succumbs himself to all the spooky, abstract, demon-like creatures contained within the Grinch's paraphernalia wagon.
Grinch is gonna get ya, Grinch is gonna get ya, listen, yeah.
It's undoubtedly the breakout scene of this special, and for good reason. It is freaky, tripped up, and creative as all hell, with each shot giving you a new creature to look at. And probably the best thing about it is how it works in the context of the story, knowing this kid is mustering up all this courage for the good of the town. Definitely one case where the end is the main reason to check out the story at all.
Look, kid, I gave you the $2 treatment. You're not worth a first-class gringing.
Even the character of Euchariah himself proves strong and likable as far as child protagonists go. On the surface, he may look like the smart glasses kid archetype, but they managed to fit it quite well with him being the voice of reason of the town as they're bracing for impact. And when he gets himself out there to catch the Grinch as he journeys down and step up to the top of the wagon just before the freakout scene, you're really rooting for the guy and just feeling the dread with him.
To your words, bring on your spooks. Shoot the works, I will not flinch.
Unfortunately, the rest of the special doesn't fare quite as well. While it's no doubt pleasant to look at, it's impossible not to compare how much more slow and drawn out this is compared to Christmas. The director Gerard Baldwin got most of his experience working on Jay Ward cartoons like The Bullwinkle Show, and that's made pretty apparent by how much they rely on dialogue to carry the special. But while they had a rapid pace to squeeze in as much talking as possible,
What are you gonna do with that?
I'm going to the moon so I can write my Moonlight Sonata. What else?
Oh no!
here, each exchange and even most of the line delivery seem to get plain drawn out for no real reason other than to pad out the runtime.
Area code 5190006. Line's busy.
Adding to this problem is how a lot of the lines get unnecessarily repeated, which isn't an uncommon motif for Seuss's works and poetry in general for that matter, but it stands out so much more when there really isn't much more to distract from it. I suppose it is all to build the mood, which like I said, is pretty well handled overall, but it's not exactly the kind of thing I want to see when I turn on a Dr. Seuss cartoon. Plus, the song lyrics can get rather corny more often than not, especially for Seuss. They even give one to freaking Max as we hear his thoughts, as he gets sort of a mini arc of breaking away from the Grinch's abusive grasp.
What am I doing here? Why am I the slave of this Grinchy old crock?
But to be honest, I always kind of forget about this because it's such a tertiary element that doesn't add much to the story. I suppose it's nice to see the character who was constantly pushed around get more pathos than a proper caretaker, and it's not like it's underdeveloped as they do devote a few scenes to it, but I think it sort of played a more direct or at least a bigger role somehow. Even the Grinch himself is a considerable downgrade compared to his other special. Hans Connery does a fine job in the role even if it can't compare to Karloff, but despite how much he's feared within the story itself, the character himself, by comparison, is written a tad more goofy.
I must stop Christmas from coming. But how?
I'm gonna be the guest of honor, an exclusive Grinch I know.
Even his motivations don't make much sense. In the Christmas special, they simply show he's bothered by all the festivities, relatable and to the point. But here, it involves the sour sweet wind causing all these creatures to yelp, and I guess the noise from that convinces him to travel down to Whoville and unleash these monstrosities, despite the Who's not contributing to this in the slightest. It doesn't add up. So yes, I'm pretty torn. There's certainly a lot to enjoy about Grinch Night, but also a lot that falls about as flat as the background colors. I'd say it's worth at least one watch, especially around the Halloween season. Heaven knows they'll certainly do a good job of getting you into the spirit, for better and for worse. However, it's definitely not going to be something you'll want to revisit every year. There's a reason this quickly stopped playing on TV. Definitely not something you'll want to turn on for $6.60. At least beyond the paraphernalia sequence. That's it rules.